What's happening, Packer fans? Welcome into the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Thanks for joining me today. We're inching closer and closer and closer to training camp, which is when things are really going to start to ramp up. Obviously, these next couple weeks, will Aaron Rodgers show up? That talk is only going to get louder and louder and more important and more important. But there's still quite a few topics that I want to get to until we get to that point. And one of those topics is taking a look at this rookie class and really trying to figure out what's a logical amount of snaps that each of these rookies could take this upcoming season. And so today I'm going to kind of go through some historical data, look at the depth chart, and take a look at what are some realistic numbers for these rookies and how often they could potentially play this upcoming season. So we'll go from rounds 1 through 7, pick by pick, and kind of go through these numbers and where I kind of guesstimate these to be. So make sure to make your comments below. Tell me where I'm wrong. Hopefully I got most of these right, but we'll kind of see where things are at and definitely look forward to seeing your comments below. So let's start with Eric Stokes. And when I looked at this, I kind of compared it to not necessarily Jaire Alexander when he was drafted, because Alexander was a top pick. There was expectations that he was going to come in and play right away. I kind of compared it to Josh Jackson. Remember, they added the veterans, Tramon Williams, Devon House that offseason. They still had Kevin King, Jaire Alexander. I feel like Stokes is kind of going into a similar situation. You've got some of these veterans still. You've got Josh Jackson in this situation. You obviously have Jaire Alexander who is starting. You've got Kevin King, Chandon Sullivan. So you've got, 4 guys that are there who have played some snaps. And then, of course, you've got Eric Stokes as well. But Josh Jackson, that rookie season, ended up playing 721 snaps. I'm going to put Stokes right around there. I'm going to put him around 600 to 700 snaps his rookie season. I do feel like Green Bay is going to want to get him on the field. And I've said about the cornerback position this offseason, I think it's going to very similarly play out how the offensive line has played out these past couple seasons, where Matt LaFleur ad nauseum has gone on and said, we're going to get our best 5 guys on the field. We're going to get our best 5 guys on the field. I feel like corner is going to be very similar. In those nickel formations, I feel like they're going to get their best 3 guys on the field as corners, or maybe even defensive backs, because maybe Savage gets some time in the slot as a nickel guy. Who knows, right? There's still a lot of different ways that this could go, but I feel like they're going to try to get their best guys on the field in regards to corners specifically, but even maybe defensive backs would be a better way to put that. But because of that, I think Eric Stokes is going to have a chance to beat out, or given an opportunity to beat out both Kevin King and Chandon Sullivan. Remember, I think there's a chance Stokes could play some inside. I don't think King is playing inside. Jaire Alexander, of course, can play some inside, but I think Jaire probably stays outside. And then I think if, Kevin King makes it, but Stokes is your next guy, maybe you give Stokes a chance to play inside. Or if Stokes is one of your best, then it becomes a battle of, all right, do we want Stokes inside with King outside, or do we want Stokes outside with Sullivan inside? So I think there's a couple different ways that could go, but I do really think that they're going to want to get Eric Stokes on the field in some capacity. I think he'll be a dime corner from pretty much day one, and I think he will beat out Josh Jackson and whoever else, KB Nento, Stanford Samuels, the list goes on and on, Kadar Hallman for that spot. But you're also going to have injuries that are going to play a part in this. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had some specific situations and formations that Eric Stokes was a part of, maybe even some specific matchups. If they felt like Kevin King just didn't have, a specific trait, whether it be speed or agility, whatever, to take on a specific wide receiver, maybe they use Eric Stokes in that situation. So I'm going to say 600 to 700 snaps, mirroring the 721, or at least closely mirroring the 721 that Josh Jackson had as a rookie. Josh Myers, I'm going full-on starter here. So whatever, however many amount of snaps that amounts to 1,100, 1,200, 1,300 snaps, dependent upon how that, 17-game season looks, plus potential playoffs. I definitely expect him to break 1,000 if everything goes according to plan and he stays healthy. He is going to be given every opportunity to be the everyday center for Green Bay, both now and into the future. And I think if that's your plan, kick it off right away. And it certainly seems that that's what they've done. Rookie minicamps, OTAs. He's been the guy at center with the starters. You haven't seen. I have to think back, but I don't recall Elton Jenkins or Lucas Patrick getting snaps at the ones at center. I'm pretty sure it was Myers and Myers alone that when the ones were in there, Myers was the guy getting snaps at center. So if that remains to be the case, again, the limit is how many snaps Green Bay plays on offense, and that would be the expectations. Now, health and all those sort of things, and just how he plays as a rookie, all will play a factor there. Of course, if you're betting on this and saying if it's an over/under, of course you're going to take the under on him playing every snap for the season, just because, again, injuries can happen, or if he doesn't perform up to expectations, they'll try something else. But I think the expectation that he's playing every snap at center for the Packers this upcoming season. Amari Rodgers is really interesting. And if you look at this in a couple different ways, I think the comp that people keep coming to is Randall Cobb. Right now, that Randall Cobb receiving group that he had in front of him was pretty ridiculous. But let's not pretend that Green Bay doesn't have MVS and Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard and potentially even Devin Funchess, Equanimeous St. Brown. Like, he's got a fairly big group of receivers who have NFL snaps and who are, all going to want to play if they're on the roster this upcoming season. So it's not like he's going into a room where it's like Devontae and Lazard and just like nobody else, right? And even Malik Taylor was a guy who made the roster last season. So Amari Rodgers is going to have to earn his spots. But you go back to that Randall Cobb rookie season, played 293 snaps on offense. Green Bay has been pretty cautious with, bringing in wide receivers and not just throwing them in and playing them a ton of snaps right away. Even if you want to look at it a different way and say, well, Andy, we saw Tyler Ervin and Tavon Austin and these guys, they played snaps. If those guys got snaps, Amari Rodgers is certainly going to see snaps in that role. Tyler Ervin played 142 snaps. Tavon Austin played 31. Combined, it's 173. And Tyler Ervin actually saw snaps as a pure running back when they had those injuries against San Francisco. So 173, ish, slot gadget type plays that they gave, though, Austin and Ervin a season ago. Randall Cobb, 293 snaps as a rookie. I expect Rodgers to beat that, but 350, 400, 500, like that would be a pretty, significant season for a rookie wide receiver. So we'll see just how much he's able to handle and how much they put on his plate from day one. But I think a lot of people are just thinking Amari Rodgers is going to be this guy that's on the field all the time. Let's pump the brakes a little bit and just kind of look at it and say that might not be the case. He may be a primary slot receiver, but Green Bay likes to move their wide receivers around in different spots, different sets, whatever. And because of that, Amari may not see a ton of snaps. And again, the depth at wide receiver certainly plays a part here as well. Next up is Royce Newman. I'm going to John Running Jr. a season ago. JRJ played 161 snaps just this past season. I think, again, expanded games. I think Royce Newman has a little bit more positional versatility. You already go into the season with David Bakhtiari being a little bit banged up. I'm going to say 200 plus snaps for Royce Newman this upcoming season. And it wouldn't shock me if it was significantly more than that. I think he has the ability to be a player who is competing for a starting spot from day one. And of course, if that happens, that number skyrockets pretty quick. So we'll see what happens with Newman. I still think he ends up being maybe kind of the first or second guy in off the bench. But even that, through, again, the course of a 17-game season, you're going to see snaps. And I'd put that right around 200-ish snaps. Shamar Jean-Charles, you look at Kadar Hallman. Kadar Hallman played 108 snaps last season. I think Shamar Jean-Charles could easily take over that type of production. I expect Shamar Jean-Charles to be one of the core special teams players on the team. And if he is, it just gives him more opportunities to earn snaps. If players go down in a given game, we know how many defensive backs can get on a field. You can see 6-7 defensive backs on the field at any given time, dependent upon the situation and formation. So I could easily see Shamar Jean-Charles getting some snaps here and there. And all it takes is a couple of injuries for him to be thrown into a more prominent role. So I'm going about 125-ish snaps for Shamar Jean-Charles this upcoming season. Cole Van Lanen, I'm going to say maybe he gets a handful of special team snaps as maybe somebody on the field goal kicking unit or something like that. But I think it's going to be pretty tough for Cole Van Lanen to actually get in the game and play snaps, just based on the incredible depth that is right now in front of Cole Van Lanen across the offensive line. Probably the best bet for Van Lanen to get in would be if they suffer a tremendous amount of injuries at tackle. And, at some point you just try different players there, I guess. And Cole Van Lanen having tackle experience could put him in a position there. But Even then, I think, Royce, Newman, John Runyon Jr., Billy Turner, Elton Jenkins, David Bakhtiari, you've got a lot of guys that can play tackle that would probably have to get hurt before Cole Van Lanen's out there. So I'm going to say no offensive snaps and simply maybe a handful of special team snaps here and there. Isaiah McDuffie, I think, will probably be another player who's a core special teams player for Green Bay, which, again, if you're active on game days, it just takes an injury or two for you to get out on the field. So I'm going to say he gets, a cup of coffee at some point just because he's going to be active on game days due to special teams. I'm going to say about 10 snaps on defense this year, but primarily a special teams player. And that leaves me with Kylin Hill. I fully expect Kylin Hill to be the third running back. It's not a foregone conclusion. Patrick Taylor, Dexter Williams certainly are going to give him a fight, but I think Hill's the most talented of the three. If you look at A.J. Dillon a season ago, though, only 122 snaps on the total season. Now, he had some COVID things and things like that, but they struggled to get A.J. Dillon on the field. A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones going to be the primary running backs. I'm going to say Kylin Hill gets right around there, 100, 125, maybe 150 snaps. And again, if I were betting, I'd probably take the under because we don't even know if he's for sure going to be the number 3. But I think that's a fair assessment for Kylin Hill as a number 3 running back. So Eric Stokes, 600 to 700 snaps. Josh Myers, 1,100 or however many snaps the Packers play on offense. Amari Rodgers, 300, maybe 500 snaps. I want to say right around 350. Royce Newman, 200. I missed TJ Slayton. Good thing I went through a recap. TJ Slayton, I'm going to say, he takes over at least the Montravius Adams snaps from a season ago, 130 snaps that he took. Snacks Harrison took 30. Both of those guys are gone. I think he supersedes those two guys combined. So those guys played 160 snaps. I'm going to put TJ Slayton at 200. I think he has the durability to hold up, and I think he's going to be somebody that they're going to try to get involved sooner rather than later. So that brings me then to Shamar Jean-Charles, around 125. Cole Van Lanen, just a handful of special team snaps. Isaiah McDuffie, 10 snaps on defense. Definitely more on special teams. Kylin Hill, around 100, 125 snaps total. Again, glad I did the recap so I could have gone over TJ Slayton as well. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you for listening. Appreciate you all. We're getting closer to training camp, so make sure to subscribe because things are going to heat up in a hurry. That does it for me. Until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.